Hello, how are you all? I hope you're doing well. I'm going to be going live, starting the lives back again next week. I didn't do them at all this week, but we'll be doing it again. I was taking care of a lot of family, just things that I did not foresee when I came here, but I'll be back next week. I really miss hanging out with you guys. I'll keep you updated on when I'll be doing that again. But I want to talk about Mumford Sons, specifically the banjo player Winston Marshal. And if you don't know Mumford Sons, they're like a English folk rock band. I believe they started in London in early 2000s. They're world famous. They travel all over the world. I have a lot of friends that are really big fans of theirs. They've had songs that I'm a really big fan of, but just world famous, huge band. And I did a video about this in particular person that we're talking about today a few months ago. So let's sort of talk about what happened then, and then I'll let you know what's going on right now. And there's several reasons why I want to talk about this. So a few months ago, the banjo player of Mumford Sons, he tweeted out what he thought at the time was a really innocent tweet. And he had even mentioned before, this was in the middle of the pandemic when we were all supposed to stay home. So he said this was something normal that he did. He was reading a lot of books and would tweet out about them when he was finished. So to him, this was just totally innocent. He had no idea the wrath that was coming. But here's the tweet right here. And he was just tweeting about Andy Ngo's book, Unmasked, that he had read. Andy Ngo, we talk about him a lot on this channel, is just an incredibly brave, completely objective journalist, and we will get to that in just a minute. But Andy Ngo is a journalist, and he goes out a lot undercover at different riots and protests, and he reports on the inner workings of Antifa. Antifa is the anti-fascist group that has been terrorizing cities like Portland, recently Denver, Seattle. They're a very violent, far-left organization that specifically wants to, they target the system, they want to break down the system, and we've talked about them a million times before, so I'm sure you're very familiar with who they are. Anyway, I'm interjecting on my own video. I was just editing it and realized I totally forgot to mention Andy Ngo was also brutally attacked several times by this very group that the book is about. And that's why he reports on the group, because they are a violent group. He was in the hospital just a few weeks ago and thought he was going to lose his life because of this group. And instead of people thinking that the group that is perpetuating the violence is bad, they're going after the one that is reporting on it, and then going after someone who read this book and thought it was interesting. That's how nuts all of this is. Anyway, I just thought that was really important to add, and I couldn't believe I didn't mention that in the whole video. So there it is. Wait, so that's what this book Unmasked was about. It was just talking about Antifa and what they were doing. So he tweets this out and immediately gets insane amounts of backlash and bullying. Not only does he get backlash, the band gets backlash. So he didn't know what to do. He issued an apology for sending out that tweet. And I think most of that, looking back and from what I just read, and we'll get to that in a second, I think it was just sort of trying to protect his bandmates and not really understanding what was going on. So he apologized and, took some time away from the band and to himself. And that was sort of the last we heard of the whole situation. Well, just today, he wrote a blog on themedium.com that said he was actually quitting the band. And we'll get into that. I'll read you the last few paragraphs of that. And a lot of people said this was him caving. I don't actually think it is him caving. But this brings up an issue about Andy Ngo and who they were getting backlash from. I wouldn't even think as their fan base. Like, 'cause this is like folk rock music. I don't see, well, I guess they would sort of be a little bit lefty, maybe that audience. I don't know. But as you know, the Twitter mob is usually just about 10, 12, 15 just really loud, really obnoxious people that bully others. And what they will do is they will call people like Andy Ngo far right, and they're saying, I can't believe you're reading this far right book and this and that, and it's anti-fascist, they're against fascism, when really They actually are the fascist if you look at what they do, and they are a very violent group. They not only attack law enforcement and political leaders, they attack innocent people, and we know this. We've covered this a lot on this channel. But Andy Ngo is one of those people that Andy Ngo, first of all, I don't know Andy Ngo's politics at all. He is an objective reporter, and he reports the objective truth. But because they do not like the truth that he reports, and he does, he just goes to these places, he reports exactly what he sees, exactly what's going on, and you don't know where Andy Ngo leans either way. But because they don't like how he reports, they call him far right. I've seen this, I don't know how many times. There are so many journalists I follow that literally just go to these protests or just go to these riots, and they report exactly what they are seeing, whatever side it makes looks bad, whatever side it makes look bad. There we go, words, I can talk. They just report what they see, and because they don't like the reality of what they're reporting, they just call them far right. And Andy Ngo, actually, if I don't know what his politics are, but if I were to have to guess Andy Ngo's politics or where he leans politically, I would actually say he's liberal. Not only that, Andy Ngo has been brutally attacked several times. He was recently put in the hospital again, being brutally attacked by Antifa, the group that he's reporting on. So this is someone that goes out there, puts his safety on the line to tell people what is actually going on. And what's frustrating is the mainstream media will not go and tell people what's going on. So people like Andy Ngo are. And then they are labeled by the same mainstream media as far right, which is really frustrating. Even after this blog came out and was shared, it was... who is this? There was this publication right there who, again, called Andy Ngo far right. I'm like, he is not far right. But because of all of that, Winston got basically bullied, and the mob came after him online. So he issued this apology, took some time out, and then this popped up today. So I'm going to read you the last few paragraphs where he describes why he quit the band. And the first part of this, and I'll link to it below if you want to read it. The first part of this is basically talking about the history of the band, how much fun he had in the band, that he's no stranger to being bullied, and what he went through when he released this tweet, this seemingly innocent tweet. And now it leads up to this. So the last part is, so why leave the band? It says right here, for me to speak about what I've learned. So he's just saying, he's like, I had no idea this was controversial. This is what I went through too in the beginning. I didn't know these issues were controversial. I was just like, hey, this is interesting. And all of a sudden, all my friends are like, I don't even know who you are anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is how brainwashing our media is. It says, for me to speak about what I've learned to be such a controversial issue will inevitably bring my bandmates more trouble. My love, loyalty, and accountability to learn cannot permit that. I could remain and continue to self-censor, but it would erode my sense of integrity, gnaw my conscience. I've already felt that beginning. The only way forward for me is to leave the band. I hope in distancing myself from them, I am able to speak my mind without them suffering the consequences. I leave with love in my heart, and I wish those three boys nothing but the best. I have no doubt that their stars will shine long into the future. I will continue my work with Hong Kong Link Up. I guess that's a organization, group, band that he works with. Sorry. And I look forward to new creative projects as well as speaking and writing on a variety of issues, challenging as they may be. And that was pretty much it. First of all, I don't think this is a cop-out by him, because he is saying, I want to continue to speak my mind. I'm not going to just go with the flow and keep my head down because I can't consciously do that. But he's still leaving the band, and he says he's still going to talk about issues that are important to him and write about issues. So I think that's commendable to him. I know a lot of people are saying this is a cop-out. I don't think that is a cop-out for him to do this. We've talked about people that have walked away from Hollywood before and things like that because they want to be able to speak their mind. Even Joe Rogan recently was talking about how a lot of big Hollywood celebrities, they don't even believe what they're saying. They're just keeping their head down and saying the script because that's what you're supposed to do, because they're trying to get jobs or they're trying to be accepted. And I don't think he's doing that. I think he's saying, I'm going to continue to speak my mind. Where it does seem like a cop-out, and obviously I don't mean to speculate about this because I don't know the inner workings of the band, but if I'm just looking at this on a surface level, excuse me, what really bothers me is why his band didn't have his back. I don't understand that. If you're a band and you've been together, I think they started in 2007. I don't know if they knew each other before that. I don't really know the history of Mumford Sons. But if you're a band and you've been together for that long and you've toured the world together, you started playing in small clubs and then now you're in, huge arenas and you went through all of this together, you would think you would have enough bond for when something like this happens, when the mob starts coming after you because of something innocent that your bandmate tweeted out about a book that he read. I mean, I don't know. Shouldn't the band have been like, you know what? You're not leaving. We have your back. We know that you're a good person and that you mean well, and there's nothing wrong with this. For me, it just kind of makes the band look bad. It kind of shows weakness in the band. I don't know. And the thing about the mob, I think it was Adam Carolla, who I listen to quite often. He said this once, and I can't remember who was interviewing him. Shoot, I really don't remember who was interviewing him. But he was asked the question. They say, Hollywood seems to kind of leave you alone. They don't really come after you, and you're not, always around like big Hollywood people, but you're also not like completely blacklisted. Like you're not like shamed everywhere. You don't really hear your name come up as a controversial person, even though you talk about things that if a lot of people said, they would get totally canceled. Like you've never been canceled. And he said, because I've always just spoken my mind and they just accept that. And if you're like that from the beginning, if you just speak your mind and don't apologize to people and you just show this is who I am, a lot of times they'll move on or they actually won't care. It's almost like I think I told you this before, I used to work in a psychiatric hospital for kids, and they just loved to mess with staff and therapists and give them a really hard time and sort of see what they can get away with in front of certain people. And the ones that they walked all over the most, the ones that they gave the hardest time to, were the ones that showed weakness. When you show strength and when you just show people, this is who I am and I'm not going to apologize for it, I did nothing wrong, they will eventually move on because they need that weakness. That's what they feed on. They feed on that weakness. They feed on that apology. It makes them stronger. And then they go to other people. So I think it's sad that he had to leave his band, but I think it's commendable because he did say, I'm going to keep speaking my mind and writing on a variety of topics. Maybe it's an issue where some of the people in the band are super lefty and they don't understand. I've had this happen in my own life where I've had friends that have known me for my entire life, or people that have known me for my entire life, and they've seen one of my videos or something and they're like, I don't know who you are anymore. I can't, where are your morals? I'm like, what are you talking about? There are people like that. And what I have to say is, you're the one with the problem. If you're gonna walk away from a friendship because of someone's political beliefs, you are the one with the problem. And you were never a friend in the first place. So maybe it's that kind of situation where they're super lefty. I don't know. But even after this came out, there was a news publication. If I can find it, I'll put that tweet up. That said, again, it said Andy Ngo was a far-right commentator, and this is the type of crap that makes people think that someone like Andy Ngo is dangerous or he's far-right. First of all, Andy Ngo is not a commentator. A commentator usually gives their opinion on things that are happening. He is a journalist. He is a reporter. You usually don't know what his opinions are. He just reports on exactly what he's seeing. Second of all, he's not far right. Again, he is not far right. I have no idea what his politics are. And if I were to guess, I've said it the second time now in this video, I would guess that he's liberal. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. That's my thoughts on the whole apology. It's actually pretty interesting what he wrote. It's like a 6-minute read, so I'll link to the entire thing below, and I'll see you later. Bye.